Hey everybody, welcome to Our Watch. I am Tim Thompson. Very glad to be with you today, and I'm really excited to be doing my first ever recording here, our first ever podcast with Jessica Tapia. Jessica is with us right here. Jessica, welcome.
Thank you.
So glad to be doing this, finally be able to do a podcast with you. You've been with Our Watch now for a little while. You've been doing quite a few things, but this is our first time in studio together, so this is awesome.
Yep.
One of the things,
more to come.
Yeah, more to come. A lot of exciting things going on. One of the things we wanted to do today is we wanted to answer people's questions.
Yeah.
A lot of people send in our questions to us, and I really want to encourage them to continue to do that. And you and I could try to answer these things from a teacher's perspective, a pastor's perspective. What is your practical experience as a teacher? What does it say to the situation? And then me as a pastor, knowing that I've been counseling people in the Word of God for over 20 years now. And I've been very involved in what's happening in public schools. So I know what's going on with these issues. So I think it's important for us to be able to answer people's questions. I do want to encourage people to share this video out with their friends, their family, their neighbors, and go to ourwatch.com, become a subscriber there, because you and I are going to be doing some even more exclusive content with some very special guests, and people aren't going to be able to get it unless they're a subscriber. So let's answer a few questions from one very concerned parent. They had sent us these questions, and they want to know what they can do about what's going on with their kids' schooling. Here's the first part of their question. It says this: beyond social studies curriculum, is there another area that parents should be requesting to review? Now, I know why they're asking about social studies curriculum, because that's been a hot topic. We saw that with the Temecula Valley School District. Gavin Newsom, basically forcing his will on people, and that is what we call tyranny as we study history. But it definitely is more than social studies. What say you to that question?
Yeah, I think it's a really simple answer. Everything. Every part of the curriculum, every subject should be viewed by the parents. Math. I mean, a parent wouldn't typically think that math would be an issue because you look at math as just numbers, but we forget there's also word problems in math. And I have seen firsthand that now there is this gender confusion being infiltrated into word problems in a math class, And so really, the simple answer is that the parent needs to view everything that the student is going to be learning. And also, as we learned with the Temecula ordeal, it's not just, the student workbook or the student reading material that needs to be viewed, but also the teacher's handbook.
Right.
Because the teacher's handbook, there's specific, guidance and supplementary materials teachers can choose from. And that is often where we are discovering, just corrupt lessons that children should not be receiving at this point. And so it's important that it's thorough. It's literally everything that a parent should be filtering.
Yeah, I knew a teacher I've known her for, almost 40 years now, and incredible teacher. And when AB 329 passed, this was the bill that flipped sex ed as we know it. So it's no longer sex ed. Now it's comprehensive sexual instruction. So now it's about experience, not just the birds and the bees. And when that took place, there were several different curriculums coming out in the state of California, 6 of them that got state approval. In the county that we live in, Riverside County, there was 3 that the County Board of Education had adopted to push down to the other districts. And so I took the one that was going to be in my area. Marietta was talking about it. Temecula had adopted it. Menifee was adopting it, and it was Positive Prevention Plus. And I gave this to this teacher that I had known for so long, and I said, "Hey, go through this and just let me know what you think." And there were things in there that, of course, me as a pastor would object to, and decent, wholesome parents would object to. We don't want, and forgive me for being crass, but we don't want anal sex discussed in the classroom with children. And this was in that curriculum. The Genderbread Man, which was kind of old now at this point, but that was in there.
We're on to unicorns or something.
Right. It's always coming up with something new. But she said, Tim, those things are objectionable for sure. She says, but the major concern I have with this is not the materials that's given to the children, but it's the materials that are given to the teachers. And she said, if you could look at the teachers' handbooks and how they're being instructed to guide the discussion
Oh
and
gosh.
the areas that they're telling these teachers, these adults, the areas they're telling them to discuss with kids. You don't see that in the curriculum. So a parent's got to be very well aware that there is an agenda out for our kids, and the teachers are being given instructions on how to guide the conversation. So it's more than just looking at the curriculum. It is, as you said, supplemental materials, teachers' handbooks. If the teacher, ask the teacher, I'd like to see your handbook.
Yes.
And that's not going to be something that's readily available. It's difficult for parents to get their hands on these materials.
And I think if parents start doing this is really going to cause a shaking, in the education system, in teachers, in school districts to realize they're paying attention, and we need to be transparent with them. And I think we have to also get all the way to the core. I was talking to a very wise woman we both know the other day, and she was saying, we need to look at these publishers, these people that are making this content and this curriculum. We're paying them millions of dollars to supply us with this curriculum that we don't even approve of to be taught to our children. And it's sad that we're paying for this curriculum and then having to take it and revise it, do more work to it ourselves. And I'm ready to go to that next level. This obviously is separate from what parents can do, but I'm ready to start, reaching out to these publishers and making sure that they have standards and they realize like this is for children and we have morals and values, and the majority of parents, want their children to be educated, in a good, right, and true manner. So
there's only 3 major publishers of school curriculum in the state of California, and they take their cue from the California Board of Education,
of course,
the California Teachers Association, and then they take a law, like I said, AB 329, and they will take so many liberties with it. They'll put things in there that don't need to be in there, but are now in there. So we have to be very cautious in that. And then everybody always says, as California goes, so goes the nation. Part of the reason that's so true is because California develops these curriculums. Then other states go, well, California already has it.
Right.
Now we don't have to spend money to develop it. We'll just take California's curriculum.
Let's not reinvent the wheel. That's like a famous teacher saying.
Right. Yeah. So it just bleeds out to the rest of the nation. Another question, same parent, along the same lines of questioning, she asked, is there a path recommended for trying to decipher what is going to be taught to kindergarten through 5th grade this coming year? So we're talking about a classroom environment where there's one teacher. This isn't junior high and high school level where kids have multiple teachers. Kindergarten through 5th grade, there's one teacher. I think it's a whole lot easier for parents that have kids in that grade level, don't you?
Definitely. You have, one person who's in charge of your child and teaching your child every subject throughout the day with them for the majority of the day. But to decipher what is going to be taught, I think same thing. You need to have that conversation with the teacher and be very clear up front, what you do and don't consent for your child to learn, and ask for any and all material that the child will be taught from and exposed to. But parents can also be looking at the standards for their children, because that's ultimately what teachers have to teach to, is the state standards, for whatever grade that child is in. So looking through those and really, really sifting through, that's going to give you an idea of what's being taught. But the how it's going to be taught and the details of it, that really is greatly dependent on that teacher, right? As we were talking about earlier, who that teacher is. And so parents, it's so important to get to know your child's teacher. Don't just blindly give over trust to that individual until you have gotten to know them.
Right. People that are going to interview a nanny. Let's say they have a nanny coming to watch their child for them. They're going to check references. They're going to check past job history. They're going to do background investigations. They're going to do a whole lot of research before they ever hand their child over to this person. Well, what's the difference? We're talking about handing your child over to an adult and letting that adult mold your child for 7 hours a day for an entire year. This is a big deal. Ask the teacher questions. I think it's important that we ask a teacher, are you religious? If so, do you go to church? If so, where do you go to church? And I have so many people that, I'm a Christian. Are you really? Oh, okay, let's start asking questions to find out, is this person actually a Christian? What's the name of your I've had somebody say, oh yeah, I'm a Christian. Oh, where do you go to church? I go to this church. Hey, so what's your pastor's name? Oh, I don't know. You don't know your pastor's name? No, I don't really go there that often. And then you start to dig and you realize this person really doesn't go to church. They're not really a religious person. They love to do what I call fly the banner of Christianity.
Right.
And that's not to say that every teacher has to be a Christian. What I'm saying is get to know them. If they are a Christian, get to know that. And another thing is, at that grade level, it's very easy to say, you know what, I want to switch my kid into a different class. I'm not comfortable with this teacher. I want my kid in this class. Push that with your principal and get your child in the class that if you have to have them in public school, get them in the class that you want them to be in.
Absolutely. Fight for your child, fight for who your child is going to be with, like you said, 7 hours a day. And I think that too, if more parents are stepping up and voicing, I'm not okay with my child being in this teacher's class. I'm requesting my child to be moved. Imagine if the school is being hit by that with parent after parent after parent, they're going to start hopefully thinking twice about who they're hiring as teachers. And I love that comparison of, we vet nannies, but then we just drop our kids off at the schoolhouse gates and we don't personally do any vetting. And of course, I think that's because we assume that the school district has done a thorough job with that. But parents, you need to ask yourself, does the school district have the same morals and values that you do in your home for your family?
Right.
Likely not.
Likely not. Right. There are some great people in public education.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely outstanding individuals. But there are also some that just simply don't hold the same values that we as conservative Christians hold. Final question that this parent asks is trying to figure out if I need to be pulling my kids out of public school and homeschooling them. How do we begin to get involved? And my short answer I'm going to throw out there is pull them out. I mean, nobody's going to love your children and protect your children and teach your children the way you as a parent are going to do. But I also understand that's just not an option for some people.
Right. So I agree with you. If it is an option to homeschool your children, do that. I will also speak a little further into that. Because I hear a lot, I'm just not able. And I just want to go and dive into faith a little bit on that topic, because sometimes we think we're not able, but when we step out in faith and do what we know is best and what we know is right for our child, God makes a way. And so I do want to encourage, if there is a parent out there that is really feeling it heavy on their heart and they've been in prayer about, do I have my child in public school or do I pull them out to homeschool them? If it's heavy on your heart and you've continued to feel God weighing on you to pull them out and homeschool them, but you're stuck because you're just not seeing a way, you're not seeing how it's possible, and you don't think you're able or capable, my advice would be just do it. Take that step out in faith, because that's exactly when you're going to see God come through and bring provision, and you're going to just deepen your relationship with your child and just feel like you are fully able to protect them, guard their heart and their soul and their mind.
Right. A lot of parents have concerns, especially for my age group. And I look back on raising kids and I always thought, man, the homeschool kids are just weird. They're just weird. They're not very social. And what ended up happening was my son went all the way through public school, but my daughter, that's when my eyes started to get open to some of the wickedness happening in public schools. And I said, you know what, I don't like this. My daughter didn't like it. So she said, I want to be homeschooled. And I thought, oh man, you're going to be one of those weird homeschool kids. And what I found, and we're seeing kind of a change in this even today, the homeschool kids are actually the ones that are more sociable. They're able to have conversations with adults. All of a sudden, they're the articulate ones. They're the confident ones. And I think it's because they're not going through the indoctrination factory that we're seeing.
Spot on. I'm viewing that for myself as I'm just out and about. It's like, I need 5 seconds around a child and I can probably tell you if they're homeschooled or in public school because of those various characteristics you just listed. Yeah. And so for me, it's no question in my mind what I want for my children. And public schools, as teachers, we're always taught to teach our students to think critically. And it's so strange to see that really not be true, because once a child or even a teacher begins to think critically on what they're being taught, they're silenced if it's not according to the agenda. And so, yeah, it seems like children in public school, the majority of them are just kind of falling in line, and they're losing who they are and who they could be. And it's so sad.
Right. Well, one of the questions on here, or part of that question, was how do we begin to get involved? So if I want to homeschool my kid, what do I do? How do I get started? I think a really good way is just having the parents email us here at Our Watch. It's info@ourwatch.com, and I'll connect them with the right people. And we got people that would love to coach them, show them the ropes, get them involved. There's so many things that people can do with a homeschool group.
So much.
There's so many, they have all the social events. They still have they still do dances. They still do field trips. They still do all the cool stuff that you would hope for from a public school.
Yeah.
Without all the indoctrination. So we'd love to
Right.
connect people with that. So feel free, email us, info@ourwatch.com. And you and I want to continue to do this. We want to answer people's questions, and we've got a lot of cool things in the future. So Jessica, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you. It was fun. I'm excited for more.
Me too. And I want to thank you all for joining us here on Our Watch. If you have any questions for me and Jessica, love for you to send those in, info@ourwatch.com. And we'd love to do everything we can to bring the answers to you that you so desperately need. So God bless you. We'll see you next time right here on Our Watch with Tim Thompson.